How's it going, everyone? Data here, and welcome back to the Seattle Kraken franchise mode, episode number 9, finishing off the 2023 off-season, moving into free agency, followed later on by the preseason of year number 3 later on in this video. In the last one, we did the draft, and we left off on July 1st because we had a huge question in free agency. Nathan McKinnon is available at a huge price tag, a huge overall, got the X factors, got the points to back it up, has the potential, everything. Nathan McKinnon is available, and we have about $28 million to play with, and possibly even more if we were to make more trades. On top of that, there's RFA possibilities in Mikhail Sergachev, and a lot of other big UFAs, if we just sort by UFAs, such as Patrice Bergeron, Evgeny Malkin, JT Miller, and some other 85 to 84 range players that we're looking, if we're looking, middle six players, second liners, top pair D, second pair D, lots of good possibilities for a team that has so much money. So coming to the contract screen here, I'm going to go in the main roster, sorting by the money that we're paying our players right now, just to kind of show you what's going on in the contract department. Hopefully it shouldn't be too long of an episode because it's just free agency, going over some of the decisions that we want to make and making them, hopefully, pulling the trigger on the ones that make the most sense for us. Thank you for the huge amount of feedback in the last episode, as there are a lot of opinions on Nathan McKinnon, some for, some against, and lots of good rationale on both sides of the argument, as well as arguments for some other moves to make for this franchise that is kind of on the edge, but we don't want to go all in just yet and get aging players when we have good prospects, and we're going to need that money coming soon. There is also the goalie question, as we are currently rolling with Malcolm Subban backed up by Bust the Gus, Philip Gustafsson, but in free agency there are goalies available such as Marc-Andre Fleury, Freddie Anderson, Varlamov, Kemper, Ned, Bishop, Reimer, Smith, etc. Lots of viable options for us on that kind of shorter term that we're looking at. Guys like Nedeljkovic wanting 6 years, not as ideal, but guys in the 1 to 2 year range, that's a possibility because we're not totally sold on rolling with Malcolm Subban and Philip Gustafsson, but we also don't want to commit to someone too long term because in the system we have Peyton Wilm, 76 overall, 19 years of age, medium elite, got the goal in X factors. He's going to be in the NHL, at the very least our backup by next season, 2024-25. Unless he really grows over this offseason and he wants to push for the NHL starting in 2023-24, which is also a possibility. So getting back to the main roster now, those are our two goalies, and back to all skaters sorting by the cost that they are to us. In the last one, lots of great comments. We had a good draft as well. I didn't touch too much upon that, but we did have the 4th overall selection, selecting Isaiah Marco. I didn't look at that too much because that was at the beginning of last episode. Sorry, unsigned. Keeping him unsigned at the moment. No, sorry, I did not. Isaiah Marco. Here he is, 78 overall, medium elite. Got the X factors. We took him at 4th overall, 4.5-star shooting, a sniper out of the OHL with the Flint Firebirds. We're very excited to have him. He's possibly also someone who's going to be on the team for the start of next season, with the way the development may go over the summer. Mr. Brian Michalak says, "Hey Data, great draft. Now for the goalie. In my heart of hearts, I want to roll with Gus backing up Subban for one more year, if anything for nostalgia. I'm against the McKinnon signing only because we have Beniers and Trocheck, as well as some young talent that will grow and become pivotal pieces on our future dynasty. I also feel like Tarasenko is a movable piece, and he gives a little bit of rationale for why, but honestly, I think with the big commitment that we've given to Vladimir Tarasenko, our captain, we convinced him to come and sign long-term after the expansion draft. For all the comments saying that Tarasenko is possibly a movable piece, yeah, maybe one day, but right now, I want to keep with the realism as much as possible, and I don't think that we want to do that just yet, only moving into our 3rd season after he's at an all-time high right now at a 90 overall. Just a thought, he says, but we really just need to bide our time for those prospects to become brand names in the league. Love the content as usual. Keep up the good work, Bello." Thank you very much, my friend. An absolute Bello is Mr. Brian Michalak. Jared says, "Absolutely go after McKinnon. Player movement it is at an all-time high, and when a player like that becomes available and you have the money, you have to go for it. Rick is also on the McKinnon train. At least make a play for him. Franchise material right there. Love the vids." Thanks a lot, Rick. Vinny says maybe getting a temporary goalie in Freddie or Ned to play for that main spot until Peyton Wilm can make the NHL would be a good idea on the condition you don't mind spending some extra cap. If that doesn't work out, then Subban is a reliable goalie that can easily fill in a position until such a time. Ramsey says Nathan Mckinnon would be an absolutely incredible catch if you can make it work in the free agency. Of course, it's going to cost a load of money, but right now you have the space and he'll be a cornerstone of this franchise for years to come. Ed says that he would prefer to go after McKinnon and even Damon Severson. So that'll depend on any defensive trades we might make if some spots free up. He also likes Richie for a good third liner. So again, it depends on who's growing, what spots are open. Then Rosen, I haven't figured out if it's Rosen or Rosen. I'm going to say Rosen for this episode. He's a unsigned prospect that we're definitely going to get in free agency. Give him a little bit more money since people are interested. Adam says sign McKinnon. He'll be the face of the Kraken franchise. Then build around him, and this will be a fun ride to follow. Love from Sweden. Thank you, my friend. Much love across the pond. But speaking of McKinnon possibly being the face of the franchise, Half leaves a great comment over in the Discord server. I'm going to start with his second point on why we shouldn't sign McKinnon. Here's his argument. Here's point number 2. We have Tarasenko. Recall back to Season 1, he came to Seattle, signed long-term on the basis that he would be the captain and face of the franchise. From a role-playing perspective, which is what we always want to do, doing this and then bringing in McKinnon to be the face of the franchise 2 years later completely undermines this. Realistically, if you wanted to sign Mac, you would need to somehow deal with the fact that you've completely undermined Tarasenko in doing so, nominally by trading him, or I think namely by trading him. The first point of why the argument of not going after McKinnon is we have Matty Beniers. He is a center, and if I recall correctly, already 86 overall. Yes, he is at the end of this last season. Going into next might be even higher. He's going to get better from here, meaning 2 things. First off, he will be as good, if not better, than McKinnon within 1 to 2 seasons. I'm not sure as McKinnon's a 95 overall, but I see the point that Hef is making. If he maintains his current trajectory, creating a bottleneck of number 1 centers. Secondly, Beniers is entering into his final year of his entry-level contract. That means pretty soon into McKinnon's massive contract, Beniers is going to be demanding massive money. This money is going to have to come from somewhere, and where it normally come from would be used up by McKinnon. I think nominally it meant to be normally, and same for actually in the second comment we said nominally again. So normally that cap would come from what we're going to be giving to Mac, which is 13-14 million it sounds like if he wants to sign here. Point number 3, on a personal note, I find franchise mode series are more interesting when the top players are players that we develop or draft ourselves up to the top. Signing McKinnon because Colorado couldn't/wouldn't juggle the contracts to make it work for him is just about as bad as the already established sin of signing Ovechkin in free agency. And even to add on to this, we have Vinny Trocheck on an $8 million a year contract right now, which means that if we do sign McKinnon, either Beniers or Trocheck are pushed towards the third line, which for obvious reasons is ridiculous. So I'm going to take a pause from the comments right now to specifically go through this comment from Hef, because I love the detail to it. I love the arguments. Number 1 on Matty Beniers. Currently, he is an 86 overall going into the last year of his entry-level deal. But here's the good thing on Matty Beniers. If, in theory, we wanted to do 1 season of McKinnon, Beniers, and Trocheck, we could go Beniers on the first line left wing. He's listed as a center left wing. His faceoffs aren't amazing. Put him on the left wing on the first line for 1 year. Let him continue to grow even more. Let Trocheck play another season in that big contract that he signed with us. And then next year, the year after this one, we can trade away Trocheck, and then Beniers becomes 1B. He becomes our second line center with first line power play, first line penalty kill, all that good stuff. Because right now, Trocheck is too good to move. He's coming off of a 50 assist season, 76 points. He was amazing. So if we can keep McKinnon, Trocheck, and Beniers all happy in that top 6, I don't think it's the craziest thing to say Beniers can just bide his time to be a centerman. He can enjoy winger time, left wing time on the first line, possibly with Nate McKinnon and Vladimir Tarasenko. When it comes to the second point about Tarasenko and the face of the franchise, I'm going to wait to reply to that point because there are some comments on YouTube that reply to that point. So I'm going to hold my thoughts on that for a moment. And then the point on the personal note, that normal sin of signing Ovechkin in free agency, I could not agree more. I am not a big fan of when franchise mode guys just sign Ovechkin every single free agency. The one time that I did it, in the Ottawa Senators live stream franchise mode in NHL 21 was because no one had signed him after the first couple weeks of free agency. We signed him, we promised him the captaincy, and it made sense for the story. People who sign Ovechkin day one of free agency and play him third line just to score 50 goals because they know that the sliders are glitched out. I'm not a big fan of doing that. I do see McKinnon as being a bit of a different story. It is probably unrealistic that he goes to free agency, but regardless, he is here now in free agency, and he's asking a lot of money. So we're not going to cheese the system and get him for 8 years at 7.250 or anything like that. And at the same time, we're not stopping ourselves from developing prospects. We do have a lot of homegrown players that we want to develop here. We have Marco, Maloney, Jiricek, who's a real-life player. I love having real-life players. So we have him, who we drafted 4th overall last season. We have Popov, Matachuk, Sloan. We have some good pieces that we have drafted ourselves. Two of those actually being real-life players, which is what makes the storyline even funner, even more fun, not a word. But so it's not forsaking the room for the prospects. We move a guy like Palat, we move a guy like Schwartz, we move a guy like Jared McCann down the road, and we make room for those guys, Jamie Alexiak, etc. It won't have to necessarily be choosing between one or the other. So I'll put that comment on pause for a moment. I know we're taking a lot of time on comments today, but that's what this episode is going to be with the off-season thoughts. If you're not a fan of all the comments, you just want to see what the end of what the verdict is, you can jump ahead a few minutes. But I do really enjoy going through all of this as it shows the thought process. As a general manager, I have to answer to all of you, and all of you are helping to shape this team as well. So I want to give everyone as much time as possible. Maddie in the Discord server, throw the bag at McKinnon. You have the cap to afford the cost now, and over time, it'll hurt less and less as salaries inflate. A few other thoughts, definitely get Rosen. Was it Rosen or Rosen I said I was going to do? I'll say Rosen. I think I may have changed. We got to get him in free agency, priority number 2. Any goalie we sign should be a 1-year deal, not a 3-year deal. We already have Gus locked up cheap for 3 years, and Wilm will be NHL ready by next year. So we could go Wilm and Gus as soon as next season. Subban and Gus were good last year, but are candidates to regress heavily next year. If you don't sign a goalie, I think it makes sense to bring in more top-end D talent to help reduce any upcoming goalie regression. So many good ones available right now in Sergachev, Doughty, and Krug. Signing Rosen will help reduce the sting of losing picks / prospects in a potential defenseman deal. Go Kraken. Imagine says, hello, great, another great video as always. Thank you very much, my friend. A few suggestions. One about Nate McKinnon. Not much on him other than sign him to a contract and see what happens. We've never really had a number 1 center in our past few franchise mode series. Adding him would be awesome, and I'm sure most people would agree. Aiden, by the way, not just Imagine. This is his name over on Discord, so thank you very much, Aiden. It's true that our last few franchise modes, our number 1 centermen have been guys like Sam Reinhart, Sean Monahan. Hasn't always been, Logan Couture even, in Ottawa. So it hasn't always been a big name. They've performed like big names. Hasn't always been a big name. Mr. Slim Shady says, McKinnon isn't worth the money. We got Trocheck, who is a very amazing 2-way forward. Plus, we don't want anyone having an overpayment on the 3rd or 4th line, as that's kind of ludicrous when you think about it. And besides, I love Trocheck. Very reliable player. So yeah, go and look for that top 4 D-man who's around 84, 85 to boost the D-core. Other than that, that's pretty much it. This is your defensive coordinator of Data 782's franchise mode signing off. P.S. Run the Tampa Trap for me if you can. You got it, buddy. Zach says, let's just sign McKinnon and figure it out later. Bring in the Tim Hortons employee. Not sure how the Seattle fan base will take it because they love their local Starbucks over there, but it's whatever. Back over to YouTube now. Scott's saying, McKinnon is tempting, but after seeing Hef's arguments on Discord, I think I'm inclined to agree that signing McKinnon undermines the storyline of bringing Tarasenko in to be the face of the franchise. Hef also brings up valid concerns about the long-term impact on our cap situation. If we bring Nate in, either Tarasenko or Trocheck are going to have to go, trade deadline maybe, to make room for Beniers' eventual / inevitable contract. I wouldn't say I'm vehemently opposed to signing Nate because, obviously, if we don't sign him, someone will. But just some food for thought before pulling the proverbial trigger. I appreciate that, Scott. Always got to cover all the bases, do our due diligence, and that's what I'm loving about the comments in this episode so far. Apo saying, great video. Thank you, Apo. Like many have already said, you should go after McKinnon. Yes, he'll be really expensive, but I believe he will be worth that money. Mikey says, now we're talking. I think it's a no-brainer. Sign Nate, and he is the franchise first-line center. Trade Vinny Trocheck, put Matty B as the second-line center, and get the prospect in there, Isaiah Marco. with Matty Beniers right away, playing with each other, and also trading Vinny is going to give you the more money, so I think signing one of those young prospects from the draft to play on that second line. Also, maybe you can sign a goalie for a couple of years until your prospect goalie is ready. Awesome draft picks. Good job. Can't wait to see the next episode. Thank you very much, Mikey. And going from Mikey to Mike, I don't see how we could pass on an opportunity to snag a guy like Mckinnon. I would trade Trocheck with the contract Mckinnon would require. I also would move out Subban and snag Alex Nedeljkovic. Give him a 2-3 year deal to be the bridge for Wilm. Great episode as always, brother. Snag Mckinnon, please. Go Kraken. Also, I would absolutely snag Rosen. I keep forgetting what I'm saying. Rosen as well. Thanks, Data. Thank you, Mike. Apu says, good draft, Data. You didn't mention it, but I think I saw Isaiah Marco having one more X factor than the Russian Burmistrov, I think his name, who we passed on when we were deciding who we were going to take at 4th overall. So that's also a plus. In addition, you got to sign McKinnon. I did in my own franchise mode. 8 years for $14 million because 2 other teams were interested. But this time, there are no other teams interested. So you have the cap, and he will be your best point scorer until he's like 34. You got him, lock him up. The rest of the team can be shaped around him as long as you keep track of other contracts. Don't want to be in a really bad salary cap position. Then I asked Apu what he thought about the face of the franchise question. He said, I understand that aspect, and I know the franchise mode stories that you want to make realistic as well, so overshadowing Tarasenko can be a thing. However, has that really happened in real life? It's an interesting point. In my opinion, Tavares to Toronto is a great example. Matthews still is the guy, although I do think Matthews was better than Tavares when he was signed. Although I do think Matthews, I think what Apu's trying to say here, Matthews got better when Tavares signed, or was Matthews even better already when Tavares signed? Regardless, Matthews is the guy. Tavares still came to Toronto. Nathan McKinnon is just a player who's going to revolutionize the center department. Getting rid of Trocheck when Beniers is needed to be extended may also help, but in the end, you're the boss, and we're just unpaid assistants sharing our thoughts. Well, those unpaid assistants have a huge role in the team, so I thank you for your thoughts, Apu. Last comment, a big one, going to Jack. Jack, first off, love it, buddy. Thanks for this. Let's get through it. Let's try and skim as much as possible. First, I agree with Mikey. Nate Mack's a no-brainer. Number 2, Ned is also a pretty good deal for a starter. He'll be good enough to hold the fort down until Wilm is good enough to be a starter. 3 to 4 years, 4.75 to 5 mil just for the future. Roll with him and Gus the Bus for next year. See what you can do. Trades now. This may be a little controversial, but I would take a look at a Bear/Pulak swap for Mikhail Sergachev. Sergachev is 1 to 4 years younger than Bear Pulak. 3 better overall than Bear and 1 better than Pulak. He's also on the block, so they'd be more willing to give him up, because they don't have the cap room as well. Yeah, he wants more money, but he's got 2 years left of natural growth for a defenseman who would step in and be the number 1 guy here. And if you trade for him while he's an RFA, you can get him for cheaper, assuming he actually fits Giordano's chemistry. Not saying we have to do this, but if he fits really well, you could have a multi-Norris winner on your hands. The reason you'd be trading Bear or Pulak rather than another defenseman is that they're probably giving you the most value. There may be pick/prospects going the other way. Not sure what the trade values are compared. Maybe more, maybe less. I did take a look at this. To get Pulak for, if I were to trade Pulak for Sergachev, in the trade value, it looks like about Pulak and a second and a third, or Pulak and 2 seconds. Something like that would be the trade value, looking about even. Number 2, trade Malcolm Subban and Brandon Tanev for cap space following that potential trade for Sergachev and Nedeljkovic deal. It's just surplus. With Wilm coming in, we don't need that much money for the 4th line healthy scratch guys. Also look at Bobby Ryan. He has non-existent trade value. He's 83 overall, maybe a worthwhile pickup for depth scoring at the deadline if someone isn't working out. So essentially, get Nate Mack, flip Bear Pulak for Sergachev, get Ned to be the starting goalie, trade Subban or Tanev. We're gaining this much cap space, which leaves us with around 5 to 6.5 for flexibility. Leave the unsigned prospects. They're not ready yet, so you may end up hurting their development. That is true. It's tempting to put Marco on that second line already, but as of right now, unless he grows over the summer, he's still only a 78 overall. When bringing up the question of McKinnon being the face of the franchise to Jack, he says, I think by getting Nate, it might undermine Tarasenko a little bit, but what you tell Tarasenko is, Nate is the Timmy's guy, you're the Kraken guy, you're still the captain of the team, and he is the guy to get you to the level of being put back on the cover of an NHL video game again. He won't be the star of the team, Tarasenko. You'll be like the dynamic duo. Like for Boston, Bergeron and Pastrnak. Pastrnak is the better player, but Bergeron is the face of the franchise and the captain. He's going to be your setup guy, Mckinnon is. You'll get all the big goals, Tarasenko, because you have him as an elite playmaker to set you up. So with all that synthesized in my brain, it's a lot to take on, but here's what I'm thinking when it comes to Nate McKinnon. If it was going to be 7 years, 14 million or whatever, it would be a lot to commit, and it would be tough. I'm not too concerned with the Tarasenko deal, because you look at Pastrnak, Bergeron, Marchand, you look at Tavares, Matthews, Marner, even Nylander, you look at Crosby, Malkin. A lot of the times, you could say, okay, those are different situations, all the players were drafted, whatever. But if I'm telling Tarasenko, you're still the face of the franchise, you're still the captain, you're still the goal scorer, but here is someone who's going to bring this team to the next level and accelerate this team to success for years to come. I don't think that will be something he necessarily hates. I don't think so. Especially now, I was thinking, okay, McKinnon, 7 years, whatever. And then I just click this little button here. Boop, 6 years. For 6 years, Nate McKinnon only wants $11.5 million. So for 11.5 for 6 years, it brings him to the age of 33. Instead of paying 7 years an extra 3 and a whatever million per year, or 2 and whatever million, we go 6 years. And there's no one interested right now. So I'm willing to take a risk here. If it doesn't work out, I'm willing to take a risk. 6 years at $11 million. Instead of 7 for 13 point whatever, we go $66 million for 6 years. He's 95 overall for $11 million in 6 seasons. That becomes a better contract every season that the salary cap continues to go up for. So I'm ready to lock it in right now at this price for what he brings, and I think everyone would be on board. He's not going to overshadow the team. He's going to be the better player, like we said. He will very likely be better than Tarasenko, but Tarasenko's a 90 overall sniper, and I'd rather get McKinnon setting him up and putting Trocheck on the second line rather than having to continue to pump more out of Trocheck when we could just think about trading him away next year when Beniers has to get signed. But even then, the money might still be okay. So Nate McKinnon, if you want to come to Seattle, you like what we're doing here, you want to be the guy who's going to be the best player, not the face of the franchise, but you'll be in committee with some other great players, a team that hasn't really found their identity quite yet. They've shown glimpses of brilliance with a division championship and that crazy playoff push last season. Then you are welcome to come here. 6 years, $11 million per year. I'm currently considering my options. I'll get back to you later. Aside from that, approached here, we also have contracts going out to Ethan Bear and Matthew Rempe, the 6'8" behemoth. He's a local boy playing in Seattle here, so we would love to get him in the lineup. I'm sure that he will sign. Now, looking at the goalie situation, we do have the money, but I don't think any of these guys really make a ton of sense for us. Here's the thing, Subban and Gustafsson both did amazing last season. Small sample size, but they did really well. After doing so well and having a good run in the playoffs, I don't know if it makes sense to trade him right away and bring someone in from free agency who we don't know if they really work. Especially it would just be a one-year thing. We have Subban signed. Give him the 1-year chance to put on an audition. Give him the chance to be a starter for a season. If it doesn't work out, we trade him and Tanev or Alexiak in draft picks, and we get another goalie for 1 season because goalies have such low trade value in NHL. So for the start of the season, I think I would like to run with Gus and Subban. It's nothing to do with money. It's to do with the realism a little bit, but it's also to do with, I think they can do it. If not, I might eat my words here, but I think they can do it. And I'd like to at least give them the shot to try doing so. And of course, we got to make sure that we get some contract offers out to the prospects. Do I need to sort by anything? No, I'll just do this. So Rosen, I'll give him his max deal he's looking for, 3 years at .950. It's either going to be us or the Capitals that get him, so we'll try to get him signed up. Medium top 6 potential. He was a first round pick of the Sabres in 2021 here. So has that little X factor superstar ability. Could develop pretty well for us already at the age of 20. Not really seeing anyone else of much interest when it comes to two-way and potential. So we'll just keep it with Rosen here. And I guess that'll be it. Ruzicka. We could try Ruzicka. Why not? Ruzicka, give him a 1-year flyer and just see what happens. He does have the medium top 6 potential, so it could be something. Who knows? He's 6'4", power forward, big boy. Why not? Let's throw him in the minors and see if we get lucky. So let's start advancing a few days now. We're going to get all the scouts signed on. We're really just waiting to hear from Mckinnon and Bear. After that, we can think about the Sergachev possibility that Jack brought up once we see what's up with the money, what's going on. Because Bear is it's still going to cost us 5-some million. So all the scouts, welcome. I signed like 12 new scouts. The scouting department is going to be having a party. Alexiak and a 5th for a 3rd and a 4th. It's not bad, but if Alexiak's going to be playing second pair, we don't need to really do... I'm not forced to do that. Serge St. Louis, welcome to the team. All the sign, lots of scouts. There's that many? That's a lot of scouts. I think there's even a coach in here as well. Okay, JC Pettinger. I'm happy to join the team, blah, blah, blah. Our NHL goalie coach. Welcome aboard, JC. And I've... Oh, okay. I've decided to accept your offer. I look forward to making an impact on the team. Thank you. Nate? Waiting for Nate. Waiting by the phone. Does he want $66 million? Is anyone else even interested? Oh, this is going to break my heart. Is anybody else even interested right now? No one else is interested. No one has the money for Big Nate. Nate, what do you say, big boy? This should be the day right here. Nate McKinnon, are you coming to Seattle? Advancing a day? Oh, 3rd and a 4th and Tanev. No, get out of my face. Okay, oh, he's waiting a bit longer. July 6th, is this the day that Seattle will wait? Oh, okay, Ethan Bear. I'm decided to reject your offer. We'll figure it out, Ethan Bear. Is this going to be Nathan McKinnon Day in Seattle? Is the mayor giving him the key to the city? Welcome to the team, Bello. Nathan McKinnon. I was extremely happy to accept your offer. I think it can add a lot to a team that's destined for a good run in the playoffs. Wow. Especially for $11 million. I think this just makes a lot of sense. Welcome to Team Bello. Have a good off season. Welcome to the welcome to the Pacific Division from the Central Division. Let's get her done. Wow. How about that for a bombshell? Nate McKinnon, welcome to Seattle. And we still have $17.5 million to play with. And when it comes to next season, how much we're going to have to re-sign our players, we're currently sitting at $23.44. Ethan Bear, we do want to get him signed ASAP. I wanted to give him a 6-year deal. I think I wanted to give him 6 years. He doesn't really want that though, but I would prefer getting him at the age of 32. So I'm going to try 85% again, maybe a bit more. So let me try 4.750 for 6 years. I forgot what I offered him last time, but 85% is like 4.5. Ruzika's on board. Extremely happy to accept your offer. Thank you very much, Mr. Ruzika. And hey, look at that. Decided to accept your offer, Mr. Rosen. I look forward to making an impact on the team. So having him on board is also nice. Another little piece of the puzzle coming together. So let's advance the day now with that 4.750 offer going out to Mr. Ethan Bear. Going to be a nice top 4 role for a long time. He didn't play at all last season because he was holding out as an RFA. We got him from the Hurricanes after July 1st. After January 1st, it already passed. Palat and Alexiak. Ned goes back to the Hurricanes. They signed him 6 years, 4.44. They want to trade him and a 3rd to us for Palat and Alexiak. I will decline that. Keep advancing a few more days. Reject again from Ethan Bear. It's not going to be like other times where I've held an RFA for months and then I end up getting a 1-year deal and pinching pennies. I'm just trying to get a good 6-year contract here. If we got to pay a little bit more, we will. I'm just trying to make a fair deal for everybody. So now his 6-year demand has come down a little bit. And he'll come down a little bit. I'll come up a little bit. Let's try 6 years at 4.825. And hopefully that'll make him a little happier. Drieger in a 7th for a 3rd, a 4th, and Tanev. No thank you. Former Seattle Kraken goaltender Chris Drieger. A 3rd and Tanev for a 4th. And what? Why would I do that? Lexak and a 5th for a 3rd and a 4th. Keep that in mind from the Islanders. Advance one more day here. Tanev and a 3rd for a 4th and a 6th. Why would that make sense for me? I believe the signing will be good for myself and the franchise. Ethan Bear signed on. Welcome officially to the Seattle Kraken. So here's the thing now, $13.845 million in cap space. It's a lot of money, and we don't need to spend up to the cap. I'm sure our owners would be very happy if we didn't spend up to the cap every season, especially as a new team. That leaves us with $19.5 million of extension. Bean's going to want maybe $3 more million. McCann's going to want $2 or $3 more million. Chalowski's going to want another $1 million or so, but not a lot of big names coming this year. It's after this year when we look at Matty Beniers and other players, so let's just look at next season here. This is 23-24, 24-25. Who's out of a deal? Sorry, the year after that. Who's out of a deal? Gauthier, Appleton, Tanev. Palat's probably the bigger one, and Beniers being the biggest. Still not crazy, though, because our big names here, Mckinnon, Trocheck, Tarasenko, even if Trocheck is moving, even Pulock, all signed for relatively long term. Trocheck, when his deal expires, we'll probably be trading him in the final year of it. But the big boys, Tarasenko, McKinnon, Pulock, and even Ethan Bear now, all signed pretty long term. The biggest question is, do we think about making that Ryan Pulock swap with the Lightning and getting Mikhail Sergachev? It would cost us a couple more million. We'd be, we'd have around 11 to play with. Pulock, 12 goals, 16 assists last season. Was not the greatest year, but still 28 points and a -2. I meant more than -2 that wasn't great. The points were fine. He played in all 82 games. He had a career high in penalty minutes by quite a bit with 50 penalty minutes. He was a first pair guy. He actually moved around the lineup a little bit. He wasn't bad at all. I'm not trying to say he was bad, but if we could move him in a deal that brings in Mikhail Sergachev, that would be interesting. Now, here's the biggest thing. Back to realism. Already getting Ryan Pulock from the Islanders was a stretch. He signed the 8-year extension. The only reason we got him was because the Islanders brought in Mackenzie Weegar, and Ryan Pulock's job was kind of in jeopardy, and he wanted to be the first pairing guy. He kind of maybe found himself on the second pair and being overshadowed by both he and, Adam Pelech. So on the Kraken, we promised him first pair minutes. We promised him a big role. We said, okay, you signed that big extension. Now here's a team that you can actually stick with for a long time. We convinced him to waive the no-trade clause and everything. Would it make a lot of sense to ask him to waive it again to go to Tampa? I don't think it would. Plus, I don't think he'd waive it anyways. So I really would love to do that Sergachev swap. It would be a great move for us. It makes sense for us. It just doesn't, we don't have really the trade value to get it done, nor the pieces that would make sense in a trade. So, Jack, I hear you. I hear a lot of you saying that as well. You're probably screaming at the screen right now. But I'm going to pass on Mikhail Sergachev. Even though we have the money, we have the resources and all that, I don't think it would make a ton of sense right now. We're going to roll with the defense as is because the defense was quite solid last year. Now we're going to be going with Pulock and Bean on the first pair most likely, Bear and Alexiak on the second, Chalowski and Fleury on the third. Doesn't look like anything too crazy, but they did very well last season. We have a lot of cap space. We still have some trade value to play with. We have a good amount of draft picks as well. We can still fix this team or bolster up this team if need be. Looking at the forwards now, we were talking about signing a middle six guy. Is that still necessary? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's with Cole Lind and Julien Gauthier being full-timers in the NHL. I'm not totally sold on them, but having Gauthier, Lind, and Tanev as forwards 11, 12, and 13 is not bad, as well as having Barré Boulet, and we don't know what's up with Isaiah Marco. If the top six is locked out, McKinnon, Tarasenko, Trocheck, Beniers, Schwartz, Palat. It's locked out in that top six. The third line's where it's a bit weak with McCann, Appleton, and let's say Kaut. But I'm really going to bank on off-season growth. I'm really putting a lot of faith in, I hired Gary Roberts to be my off-season trainer. I'm putting a lot of faith in him because I'm not going to be signing anyone else here in free agency. I'm going to let it ride, and I'm going to see you pretty much at the beginning of the preseason. But as we always do in the offseason, if you're new to the Franchise Mode series, what I like to do is generate different draft classes and generated prospect qualities by random. Because right now, the default is medium. We did a random number generator last season. We got high draft class quality and low generated prospect quality to try and keep it random and realistic. So I have Google's random number generator here ready to go. First we'll do draft class quality. It's the number between 1 and 100. I forget what we've done in the past, but I think it's 1 to 30 is low. Then you got, 1 to 29 is low. 30 to 70 is medium. And 71 to 100 is high. So random number generator for draft class quality, I get 56. So we will go back to medium for the draft class quality. And then for generated prospect quality, I get 82. Interesting. So this year, after going high and low, we're going medium and high. It is a medium draft class quality with high generated prospect quality. So get ready. There could be a franchise player in this draft. It could be a doozy. All the more reason to try to hang on to our draft picks maybe. We have a first, we have 2 seconds. That would would be the cost, the 2 seconds and Ryan Pulock, if we wanted Mikhail Sergachev. So we just signed Rawson, we have Marco, we have Jiricek, we have a lot of players. Let's sim to the through the off season, and I'll see you at the beginning of next year. So we've arrived at the beginning of the preseason. What I'm going to do now is edit the lines to how I would like them to look, ideally heading into the preseason, as well as send out all of the scouts for their preliminary reports, and I'll be back when I have an idea of what lines I want to show you. Okay, that is finally all done. Lines are set, scouts are out. Let's get into this. Okay. First things first, I'm not sure how it's going to go. This is the first franchise mode that I have X Factors. I was thinking I have the ability to add or remove X Factors from up to 3 players per season. We never really had a set rule for that. Let me know your thoughts. So what I did was I removed the original X Factor I gave to Matty Beniers. I think it was the one with the train, maybe it's truculence, I'm not sure. I took that off, and what I did was added the 3 superstar factors, whatever you want to call it, superstar abilities, that Superhighway Gaming gives to Matty Beniers. He does a lot of player creation videos, so I gave him Elite Edges, Magnetic, and Stick 'em Up. All 3 superstar abilities, no zone golden abilities. For Vladimir Tarasenko, who's a 90 overall player, he is a multi-30-plus goal scorer, coming off back-to-back 39 and 35 goal seasons in 70 games played, on pace for 40 goals. The guy is a sniper, has as many goals as assists, basically. I don't think it makes sense that now at 90 overall, he doesn't have any X factors. So I gave him the superstar ability of Snipe, and superstar abilities of Make It Snappy and 1T. Let me know if you think I should add or remove different superstar abilities or X factors for any of these players. Those are the ones I touched upon for this offseason, Beniers and Tarasenko. So add them with Nate McKinnon and his X factors on the first line. That gives us a +2 for line chemistry, even though the fit is not very good. Without the X factors, it's a 0. With the X factors, it's a +2. Regardless, that's our first line. Second line, Schwartz, Palat, Trocheck. Not ideal because Trocheck does not fit that second line. Neither does Jaden Schwartz. Could swap Schwartz to the first line, but then it removes the chemistry, so keep that in mind. We'll see what happens as the season goes on. Third line, Appleton, McCann, and Martin Kaut, now at an 81 overall. Very nice. Third line checking forward, medium top 6 potential. This should be a big season for Martin Kaut. Fourth line, Cole Lind, now at an 81 overall, our expansion draft selection from the Vancouver Canucks. Very happy to see him cracking the NHL roster. Dylan Gambrell at an 80 overall, our selection from the San Jose Sharks. And Julien Gauthier now at an 80 overall as well. He was fluctuating around. Now he's an 80, listed as a fourth line forward. Defense, Jake Bean and Ryan Pulock on the top pair. Jamie Alexiak and Ethan Bear, who is now an 86 overall. Very nice to see that. Fits best on the third deep pair. Giordano's not the greatest coach for these players, but he has back-to-back Jack Adams. We'll try to give him a shot, especially now he's an A- rated coach. Third pair, Cholowski and Fleury getting the +2 on the line chemistry. Special teams, did a little stuff on the power play, +2 there. Penalty kills, 0 and 0. I'm actually going to swap Appleton. I want to give Kaut the ice time. And it's still a 0. There we go. All that good stuff. And then goaltenders, Malcolm Subban and Philip Gustafsson are now both 82 overall. Gus has grown to an 82. They'll pretty much be sharing the crease. Auto goalie rotate will be on. We'll see who does better. Maybe we turn it off, give more starts to one goalie or the other. That'll be part of what the preseason helps us figure out. Brandon Tanev's our 13th forward. Jeremy Lauzon, now up to an 80 overall, is our 7th D-man. And that is how we're going to roll. Down in the AHL, we're giving lots of ice time to Asher Maloney, who I did sign. 18 years of age now. He aged from 17 to 18 over the offseason. 77 overall at the age of 18, the 12th overall selection in last year's draft. Give him top line minutes with the +1, as well as Rosen, who's at a 75 overall. Medium top 6, and they'll play with Mason Shaw, our expansion draft selection from the Minnesota Wild. Heiskanen's going to play second line with Ryan Suzuki and Barry Boulet. Vesa Heiskanen, he had a bunch of superstar and zone ability X factors last offseason. Now they're all gone. I don't know what happened there. Roy Phillips and Ruzicka third line. Senishin, Remp, and Bittner on the fourth. Defense, Ferenc Dursey. Then check this out. Kyle Wood and David Jiricek. +5 for the chemistry with those golden and superstar zone blah blah abilities. So Jiricek, 77 overall, 19 years of age, the 4th overall pick in 2022. He's going to get full-time AHL. Second pair with the +5, playing an 82, as well as some nice special teams and all that good stuff. Peyton Wilm was grown to a 78 overall at the age of 19. He will start in the AHL, backed up by Joey Decord. Chartier down here. I'm going to sign a couple of defensemen as well to fill in for this 51 overall there. Chance giving it a -3. So that'll be the lines. Those will be the lines for the NHL and the AHL. Scouts are sent out. Let's simulate to the preseason now. I'll get those two guys that actually not the regular season, just the preseason. Wyatt Wiley and Declan Chisholm are both going to be in the AHL now. All right, ready to rock and roll now for the preseason. First, I'm going to try and do it just 3-3, and then whoever's worst gets the last one to prove themselves for the goalies. I'm not going to go back and forth. We'll start with Malcolm Subban getting the first 3 games. Gus gets the next 3 games after that. And then we'll come back and check in for the 7th game of the preseason. So let me simulate through those quickly. So after 6 games, we are 3-2-1. Nathan McKinnon has 9 points through 6 games. He's looking great for us. I wonder what Vladimir Tarasenko's doing out here. Is he profiting on that first line? Yes, he is. 8 points for him. Let's check the goaltenders through those 3 games each. So Gus goes 2-1-0. 870 save percentage, 3.33 goals against. The thing is, he had 1 game where he let in 1 goal for a victory, and another game where he let in 6 goals for a loss. So that's the difficult part right there. Malcolm Subban 1-1-1, 903 save percentage, 2.61 goals against. I'm going to give Gus the last start. We kind of know what we're getting with Malcolm Subban. We know he's just a little above 900 and around a 2.6 or 2.7 goals against kind of guy. I'd like to give Gus this last start to try and fight for that starter role. Right now, I think Malcolm Subban is the guy who's going to start the season for us, but I'm willing to give one last shot to Gus here against the LA Kings, who are 5-1-0. Not going to be an easy matchup, to say the least, but if he wants to prove himself, this is a perfect opportunity. So he's between the pipes here against the Kings at Climate Pledge Arena, simulating through this. There you go, players on waivers. It is a 6-3 win. Interesting. So the first 3 games of the preseason, which were Malcolm Subban's, 3-2 loss, 3-2 shootout loss, and 6-3 win. Then Gus gives us a 5-1 win, 6-1 loss, maybe he got pulled, 6-3 win, and then another 6-3 win to end up with a record of 4-2-1. Through those 7 games, Nate McKinnon scored 11 points, Matt Beniers scored 10, Tarasenko scored 9, McCann had 6 assists, looking good, Chalowski had 5 points, was a +8. What? Palat 5, Cole Lind with 5, Gambrel 3 goals, 4 points, Kaut, wow. So a lot of unlikely people coming through for us. Meanwhile, Trocheck only had a goal and 2 assists. 3 points in 7 games, not horrible. Pulak, -3, yeah. Gauthier had a goal. Let's look at the goalies now. Gus, finally his numbers end up at 880, the save percentage, and 3.25 goals against average. I think the start is probably going to go to Malcolm Subban here. But before we wrap up the episode, that'll obviously be one of our questions. Other questions are, do we go after anyone in free agency? I took a little look at who's still around, and there are quite a few names still out here in the UFA category. Even in the RFAs, you got Dermott and Miller still out here. Sergachev ended up getting signed, I believe. UFAs, though, sorting by overall, actually, you know what? A lot of them got signed over the preseason. There was Tatar, there was Getzlaf, but Jonas Donskoy, still obviously the biggest one. Then you got Malgin. After that, it goes down Hosang, Piri, Engvall, Dalcol, etc. So, okay, not as many people as I thought, but still a couple names. And for the goalies, Connor Ingram, 82 overall, then a few 80 overalls. Looking on the trade blocks here, we might still have some interest in Bobby Ryan, so keep that in mind. Let's just scroll through the trade blocks quickly before we call it an episode. Skaters matching the block, sorting by overall. So John Merrill's out here. Coyotes have Raquel, Uyghur, Brown, Pavelski, Howla, Vatten. Wow, a lot of good names. 44-year-old Patrick Marleau. How about that for a deadline move, maybe? Okay. Bruins, nobody. Buffalo, nobody. Calgary, Tanev, and your suggestions are going to be needed because next episode, it's either going to be half a season to the deadline or it's going to be an entire season. Regardless, your suggestions will be needed because things are going to change over the course of the year for trade blocks. These aren't the ones that stay for 3, 4, 5 months. Ponomarev, Bach, Horton, Jarvis, Gunler, Drury, some prospects for the Hurricanes. Kubalik, Tyler Johnson, Boone Jenner, Murphy, Clefbaum, and Belmar all on the trade block in Chicago. Colorado, Gardner, of course, and Kukan. Columbus, Severson, who just got signed to a 6x6, 85 overall. Smith, Zucker, Matheson, Mata, a few other names out there. Dallas, Ryan Suter. Detroit, nobody. Edmonton, Broberg, Bourgault, Primo, a few guys. Prospects in Florida. Kings, Doughty, Yafaulo, Dano, Walker, Dahan, Stetcher. Wow. A lot of names out here. These, I should look at the years left in the contract as well. Minnesota Wild, Nemesnikov, Le Canadien Montreal, just some prospects. Kennon's a good prospect, 78-19. Kirill Kennon's 13th overall pick. Carr. Elanin, Rachette, Mishak, Labushkin over on the Preds. Devils, some prospects. Islanders, Eberle, Nelson, Pajot, Lee, Tierney, Delzato. Oh, look at the trade value on Michael Delzato. What in the world? Okay. That's odd. Very odd. Miller, the RFA. Robertson, some prospects. Ottawa Senators, Woolley, Raj, some more prospects. Mckinnon, more prospects. Penguins, Poulin, other prospects. Dawson Mercer, Clifton on the Sharks. Blues, Krug, Falk, Giordano, Nuvara, Hinostroza, Kajula. Lightning, some more prospects. Maple Leafs, Dermott, the RFA, an 86 overall. Another prospect. Canucks, not really anybody. Golden Knights, Chaika, and some other pieces. So a few prospects here on the Capitals and the Jets. Some prospects. So mostly just prospects here on the block is what I'm trying to say. There's a lot of prospects. When it comes to our draft pick selections, if you're thinking trade Tanev, trade Alexiak for different pieces maybe, here are the trade values on our team. Nate McKinnon, full bar of trade value. After that, it starts to go down. Marco's still 78 overall, so I'm not going to sign him to be in the OHL just yet. A lot of value for Popov, which is very nice, and other prospects as we go down the list here. Crazy how much value prospects have, but sorry, I should be looking at all skaters, but other established NHLers don't always have quite as much value. There's Schwartz, Platt, a few other names. Now for the draft pick selections, we do have our first, 2 seconds, 2 thirds, 2 fourths, no fifths, a 6th, and a 7th. Those are our draft picks. In the first rounds, we go 1, 2, 2, 3, 3. After that, 4, 4 as well, but then we're getting to the later rounds. So the draft pick selections are not bad at all. Not bad at all. We're doing fine. But we could always add a little bit. So we'll wrap it up there for the offseason, my friends. Huge free agency. We've made a few moves. Lines are looking okay. Scouts are sent out. I'm liking how the team is looking, but we need your help to make it even better. So leave me all your thoughts on this offseason. Thumbs up, thumbs down, jury's still out. Leave a thumbs up regardless if you did enjoy the episode, because it is very much appreciated with all the YouTube algorithms and all that stuff. So thank you for taking the time to watch, as it does mean a lot as well, and taking the time to involve yourself in this series as an assistant general manager. Leave your thoughts in the comments down here on YouTube or over on the Discord server, link in the description for that. Should we be making moves? Should we let it ride as is? Do we need to keep a tab on the goalie situation? What do we need to be thinking of moving into 2023-24? Once again, thank you so much for taking the time to watch. Can't wait to read all of your thoughts, and I will see you in the next one.